All right, let's dig into this a little bit deeper. We've got former federal prosecutor David Weinstein. David, always good to talk with you. Hunter Biden, though, here, of course, facing some pretty serious charges, right? He's accused of false written statements, as we were just talking about, false oral statements, and illegal gun possession. What are the chances that he is able to walk away from all of this unscathed?
Well, he's got a pretty good chance, Brooke. Again, always great to speak with you. The crux of the issue, and Caitlin was talking about this, did Hunter Biden, at the time he signed the form during that time frame in October of 2018, did he believe that he was addicted to or abusing narcotics or unlawfully using other controlled substances? That's what the crux of the question is, and it may ultimately result in him taking the stand. So it's not such an easy thing for the government to prove. They've got evidence that sort of bookends this. Statements from his book and others in April, and then statements long after October, towards the end of that same year, where he talks about being addicted and using drugs. But the time frame that they've specified in the indictment is October. So that's what they've got to prove, and that's what they've tied themselves to.
That would be interesting to see. I mean, I know it's a case-by-case thing. Would you expect Hunter Biden to take the stand in this one?
Well, you know, like all lawyers like to say, it depends.
Sure.
So it depends how close they come to the October time frame in the presentation of their evidence. Quite frankly, April is a ways away from October, and so is December. And so if his defense can argue that there's reasonable doubt based on the evidence put in by the prosecution, remember, the defense doesn't have to do anything. If they can get enough reasonable doubt from the witnesses and the testimony to show that it's questionable whether or not he believed that he was addicted to or abusing or unlawfully using controlled substances, then he's not going to have to take the stand. If it's a closer call, then in order to push it over the top, and again, while he's not required to do so, he's going to have to get up on the stand, and he's going to have to let these jurors know what was in his mind at the time he signed the form.
Talk to us about potential sentencing here. We'll play a little hypothetical. What could we potentially see down the road?
But look, you could see anything involving some time in jail, some reasons given to this judge to deviate downward from the advisory guideline sentencing and put him on probation or house arrest, home confinement, and not put him in jail. While the statutory maximums add up to 25 years, that's not actually what he's facing. He's facing a lot less than there, probably closer to a neighborhood of 2 to maybe 4 years, depending upon which charges he's convicted of, whether there are any other enhancements that are applied. So the reality is he might go to jail, but he might also get a probationary sentence. Remember, they offered him a diversion program before this case got pushed forward to trial, but that got complicated with the other charges that were out there. So he faces some jail time, but he might not end up in prison.
I also want to get your insight, your perspective on the other trial that he's facing in September on tax evasion charges. Sort of walk us through some of the charges that he faces in that one, what you expect to see come September.
Well, that one's going to be another paper case, and that one's going to hinge upon whether or not he declared certain income he had received, how he declared that income, whether he was receiving advice from his accountants and his lawyers regarding that. Was it really income as it was alleged to have been by the IRS, and how it should have been included? Did he falsify records related to that? Again, that's going to come down to what his intent is, what his state of mind is. And so that's another situation where he may end up taking the stand. But a sort of a wrench that's going to be thrown into all of this is whether or not he's going to be convicted on the current charge.
Sure.
He's convicted on this current charge, even though he's going to take an appeal on that conviction. That acts as a prior criminal history and would affect what his sentencing is going to be in that. So we're going to have some of the same issues there in terms of jury selection, in terms of who's heard about this case, what people's opinions are, whether they can focus on just what's contained, and that's the falsification and mischaracterization of the tax record. So another case is not going to be as salacious as some of the others we've seen, but one that's going to depend on paperwork and criminal intent.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.